During these tours of the closed Lake Superior Railroad Museum at the St. Louis County Depot in Duluth, we promised you a behind-the-scenes tour. This is about as behind-the-scenes as you get. This was the old baggage area in the depot, built in 1892. It now is offices, a copy center, and a little bit of history. We told you yesterday about Morgan Park and the Minnesota Steel Company processing the natural ore of northern Minnesota, the reason we're all here. Well, Minnesota got around a lot. During World War I, a lot of northern Minnesota ended up on the battlefields of World War I in Europe. Shortly thereafter, World War II, a lot of Minnesota natural ore ended up in steel on the bottom of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, not to mention all over Europe again. The natural ore was being depleted. Now they saw this coming and were looking at a substandard ore, at least they thought it was, called taconite. It wasn't rich in iron ore, but there was a lot of it. And they thought maybe there was a way to process it. So in 1940, the Pickens Mather Company formed Erie Mining and started the hunt for a process to refine taconite. D.W. Davis was a University of Minnesota professor, and he came up with a solution. Powderize the raw ore and pelletize it after extracting the waste rock, leaving just the iron ore. That was called taconite, and that changed everything. In 1947, they started an experimental plant up near Hoyt Lakes. And by 1954, they were ready to start building the real plant, which opened in 1957. There had been nothing there. They started with the mine, they built the processing plant, and like Morgan Park, they built their own planned community called Hoyt Lakes. They also built a railroad. Erie builds a total of 112 miles of track. 74 miles of it was their main line from the processing plant in Hoyt Lakes down to their dock and loading facilities on the shore of Lake Superior at Taconite Harbor. And that's where these big boys came from. Come on in, I'll tell you more. In anticipation of running the main line, in 1956, they bought 5 F9A units and 6 F9B units, B for booster, or a non-cab unit. This is the cab unit, 4211. It was one of 2 that still survive. This one donated to the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. Got your train brake, your independent, here's your reverser, and of course your throttle. You got to be able to blow the horn. This, of course, ran on the main line, hauling the finished taconite pellets down to the docks. And they normally lash up several A and B units to get enough horsepower. Each unit had 1,750 horsepower, but when you gang them all together in multiple units, or MU, you could get thousands of horsepower to haul those long trains down to the dock. It was pretty easy going downhill. What they needed the power for, really, was coming back uphill, even though the load was empty. It all kept going for a long time until, because of the earliness of the Erie plant, it used one of the worst technologies for making taconite pellets, and that's what led to its demise. Expensive production, heavy unemployment, the Erie Mining Company changed hands and became a part of LTV, and they didn't have much luck with it either. The demise of the plant was pretty much right from its very start. It just wasn't the latest technology. Kind of the way they bought their engines. Think about it. It's 1956. Who's buying streamliners anymore? Well, Erie Mining did. And this was their A unit. The plant closed in 2000, and in 2001, it was all over. They shipped out the last taconite. And in 2002, with the help of Jim Scott and the LSRM Board of Directors, 4211 was donated to the museum. It still runs. We use it on our North Shore Scenic Railroad. It's about halfway through its new paint job, making it look like it did back in the day. And, of course, we have a B unit to go with it. That was donated to the museum in 2006. The B unit had everything that the A unit had, minus the cab, of course. It's a stub at both ends. It still had 1,750 horsepower, but no cab control. It had to be squeezed either behind or between 2 A units. But think about that. Suppose one of those units goes down. Instead of taking the whole engine out of service, you just take one of the pieces out. Hence the popularity of the booster, or B unit. And they were also economical. The A unit cost Erie Mining $189,109. This, about a third less expensive. Another great episode we hope you enjoyed. We'll have another one for you tomorrow. Please, in the meantime, do what we tell you to. You all know it by now. You wash your hands, you cover your coughs, you don't touch your face, you keep a social distance. You're sick, one place only, stay home. There's only one place for you to be tomorrow, and that's here with us. And in the meantime, let's take care of each other. Putting together these daily videos, we have a lot of footage to share with you. So today, bonus footage. We couldn't resist giving you a cab ride in the 4211.
Pedestrian crossing clear. Pedestrian crossing clear, 316.
To commemorate the donation of the 4211 to the Lake Superior Railroad Museum, we worked with Cleveland Cliffs, who then owned the main line, to let us do mainline excursions all the way from the plant at White Lakes down to the harbor and back again. What a wonderful trip it was. Thanks to the friends of 261, we put on these once-in-a-lifetime excursions, and you can take a look at this entire video on YouTube.